That's right. Checkmate.
Swag, swagger, swag. Swag, swagger, swag. I don't really want it, cause I'm Michael Jackson bad. Swag, swagger, swag. Swag, swagger, swag. Y'all ain't got nothing on me, cause I'm Michael Jackson bad. Everybody wanna be labeled the truth, but they don't wanna walk a mile up in these shoes. I focus on fitness and handle my business and put on for the HBCU. Right in my prime, my waist on my grind. I'm revving my engine, I'm trained to go. Just like the diamond under the ground, I'm destined to shine, and that's for sure. Boy, take a seat, it's our turn. Yo, look at the moolah we earn. Don't play with fire, you'll learn. That way I would stay lit, we burn. They swag, I'm swag, you swag. Y'all ain't ready, too bad. I overcome obstacles, nothing's impossible. I make them say, how did he do that? No matter the circumstances, boy, there ain't no second chances. But the odds got the advantage. Still gotta get up and handle it, that's facts. Dog, I'ma need some room, step back. One thing I won't do is lack. Only thing I pursue is cash. I don't really know about you. Swag, swagger, swag. Swag, swagger, swag. I don't really want it, cause I'm Michael Jackson bad. Swag, swagger, swag. Swag, swagger, swag. I ain't got nothing on me, cause I'm Michael Jackson bad. Swag, swagger, swag. Swag, swagger, swag. I don't really want it, cause I'm Michael Jackson bad. Swag, swagger, swag. Swag, swagger, swag. I ain't got nothing on me, cause I'm Michael Jackson bad.
Okay, swag, swagger, swag, I got that. Once I get the ball, you never get the rock back. Ringmaster, no top hat. We the best of the best, can't stop that. I steppers be stepping, alumni be rapping. I drumliners out of this world, yeah, you know the deal. Show up on fields and serve with them L's like Louis Vuitton. We in our prime like 21.
What is going on? What it do to all the folks out there? It's your boy Lionel, class of 2009, and we back with another episode of The Recap with my co-host Kerry Mickens and Coach Heish Northam. And listen, before I bring them up, I told Coach Heish, I said, listen, it's been my fault all season. I lost KJ Black's vintage 2009 belt, but I found it. All right, I found it. I gave it to Coach Bubba. He gave it to the offense and the defensive coordinator. All right, you know what I'm saying? Like, they gave it to their units, and y'all see the results. So listen, if you're gonna listen, don't blame nobody but me for losing KJ Black's 2009 SWAC championship belt, because that we supposed to be using that belt all year. All right, you know what I'm saying? I lost it, but I was able to find it before this FAMU game, and so obviously y'all see the results when we had a belt. All right, so with that being said, though, man, first of all, we appreciate you all for joining in and for tuning into the show. All right, make sure you're following us over on Instagram and on Twitter, PV_versus_ everybody. Listen, SWAC Twitter, I was gone for a slight second, and I came back, and people, man, it's just up right now. It's up, okay? All right, so I'm coming back to bring a little more peace, all right, to bring some peace and unity, all right? So we here, all right? We here for the Sunday night show. Make sure you also go ahead and like and subscribe to the channel. All right, go ahead and show some love. Listen, y'all know what the goal is, man. We on the road to 750. All right, so we're almost there. We're pushing the past 620 now. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, man. Go and subscribe to the channel. Show some love, right? You know, we're coming in week and week out. I know you guys have been loving, the Northern Lights section of the show, man. We got more to come. We keep telling y'all, listen, we're now in November. We're almost to the time where we're gonna have that Northern Lights. We talk about SWAC head coach firings. All right, I know you guys are gonna be ready for that segment. You know what I'm saying, in a couple weeks. But go ahead and like and subscribe to the channel, man, so that way you can be notified anytime we come out with a new show. And listen, you gotta be there for that one, because that one's gonna be awesome. But with that said, man, I gotta bring up my co-host for the day. Man, how you guys doing? How was your weekend? Just let me know how it was going, man, watching some football this past weekend.
Hey, I had a great weekend watching football. My Bridgeland Bears, they got in the playoffs and found out who they gonna play first round. I just got finished watching the Grambling versus Alabama State game on the replay on ESPN on the app. Kept up with quite a few other games. Called the Prairie View game, and it was a good weekend. I don't know what happened in the pros. I think the Cowboys was losing by a lot, and the Saints won. So it's gonna be some interesting comments on my cousin's text messages back and forth. And then I want to give a shout out to Southern women's soccer team. I meant to go to the game today, but I had one other commitment, and they ended up winning the first SWAC championship in Southern soccer history. So I want to give them a big shout out.
Shout out to them for getting the job done over there. Mr. Carey, man, how was your weekend?
It was great. Watched those Panthers do their thing, and it was good. And I know Lionel don't want to hear this part, but my Chiefs are 9-0, baby.
Listen. Oh man, the good thing we can't see you on screen today. All right,
I know.
Good thing we can't see him on screen. No KC hats or nothing. All right. So, man, it was an exciting weekend of HBCU football. You guys, I know you guys, Carey, man, you like driving every weekend, but even though you going places, even though you heading out, to different games and stuff, because you heading out to Fort Worth now, you said, correct?
Yeah, going to see my brother, but yeah, I didn't get to see the game. I didn't get to go in person this weekend. I planned on going, but we had some house stuff we had to fix.
Nah, I got you, man. And shout out to Carey's brother, man. Everybody, please, if you can't remember him, in your prayers, right? He's got big surgery coming up. And so I know that's why he's heading out that way. So definitely remember Carey's brother in your prayers, man. You know what I'm saying? We definitely want to show love and just join together, you know what I'm saying, the HBCU family, you know what I mean, around those who are going through this at this time. So yeah, make sure you remember him in your prayers. But with that being said, man, listen, it's always good. Like I keep telling people, right? Listen, FAMU. I see Mr. Campbell in the chat, you know what I'm saying? Appreciate you. You know what I'm saying? Listen, man, I don't know. We played this all year. This is a team we were waiting on all year. But the good thing about FAMU, they came to the game, they tailgated, right? And man, when you have a loss like that, listen, you need a place to go home to. And listen, if you ain't got a place to go home to, my man Jeff McKissick, all right, man, he can get you set up. So that way, when you take a loss like that, when you take an L like that, listen, you need a place to go home and rest your head. Think about having an L like that, Coach Heish, and you ain't got nowhere to go home to, right? You know what I'm saying? Ain't got nowhere to lay your head, all right? You need to have a house of your own, right? And my man Jeff McKissick can help you, man. He is a licensed loan officer with Fairway Independent Mortgage Company. He'll guide you seamlessly through the home buying process. See, many of us are unaware of our credit score, true financial situation, but Jeff, he'll help you develop a step-by-step plan to improve your financial standing and make the dream of owning a home achievable sooner than you think. And listen, some of y'all needed a home this weekend, because if you ain't got no place to go to, you in trouble, all right? You probably calling up people like, man, hey, listen, can't come back and listen. I ain't got time for that, right? It was a bite and bite again this weekend, all right, from the Panthers. So listen, Jeff understands your situation. So make sure you hit up Jeff, man, because he'll help you to navigate those issues like, credit score and, student loan debt. So don't let the fear of achieving success hold you back from owning the home of your dreams. Perfect for your growing family and, of course, hosting those PB watch parties. So get started now on taking the first step towards your new home and taking the next big step in your life. Don't delay. Talk with Jeff today so you can be in your home tomorrow, and he looks forward to talking with you soon. So with that being said, man, let's get straight into it. Listen, who is your big winner and big loser from week 11?
Woo. The obvious choice. The biggest loser is the Snakes. And the biggest winner is Prairie View because everybody counted them out.
You got FAMU and PV. Coach Heish, who you got this week? Biggest winner, biggest losers.
Can I get a tie between Southern and Prairie View? Because I think both schools, when nobody expected Prairie View to win, everybody expected Southern to win, and they pulled out another high blood pressure nail biter type of game. The biggest loser, like I said, I just got through watching that Alabama State Grambling game. I got to give it to Alabama State because of the way that they lost. FAMU knew midway through the fourth quarter that game was over with. And for Grambling to win the way that they did after they lost to Alcorn almost the same way, I think that makes Alabama State, because they still were in contention on the eastern side. So I give it to Alabama State.
Yeah, man, biggest winner this week. I'm gonna have to say, from a biggest winner standpoint, I'm gonna have to say Southern, right? Because at the end of the day, being able to, 5 overtimes, being able to get another win, you basically are one game now away from wrapping up the SWAC West. You got to give it to Southern as far as being the biggest winner. I mean, it was a big win for Prairie View, but in terms of SWAC championship, right, Stan, in terms of being able to have a shot at the Celebration Bowl, you got to say Southern is the biggest winner from this past weekend. Biggest loser, Alabama State, because at the end of the day, I mean, and look at it now, right? FAMU takes another loss. So now you're talking about Alabama State having a chance. If they would have beat Jackson State, if they could have got through the rest of these games and beat Jackson State, you're talking about them winning the SWAC East, right? Mm-hmm. So they have to be the biggest loser, being 23-10, right, in the fourth quarter, not being able to hold on to that game. Oh man, that one hurts. This is one of those ones that you definitely want to get back, right? And this is one of the ones that fuel you for another year, that it just lays on your mind, right, and on your heart for another year when you talk about trying to come back and get the job done, man. So I got my biggest loser as Alabama State, man. It's super, super hurt. You know what I mean? I know it got to be right now, right? Especially looking up and seeing the scores that they saw and knowing that, man, if we would have ran the table, we could have won the East. I mean, to think about where they started with the quarterback situation, first 4 down, and that one hurts. That one hurts, man. So let's keep it moving, man. So all right, we got only a few games this week from the MEAC and the Independents. I want to start off obviously with running through this gauntlet here. Obviously, Tennessee State, was able to get the big victory, 45-20 over Western Illinois. You had South Carolina State 38-14 over Howard. Morgan State 36-28 over Delaware State, which keeps them in a good position, right, to have a chance still to have a shot at South Carolina State if they can get that victory. And then we look at the Independents 31-3 loss for A&T against Villanova. And then Towson with the 27-10 win against Hampton. I think that one was a little surprising to me. I thought Hampton, the way they've been playing recently, that they would actually be able to get the job done against Towson, but they were not able to get the job done there. Any of these games stand out to you guys when you look at, the MEAC standings? We look at that Big South OVC with Tennessee State. Anything stand out for any of you guys?
The only thing, like I said, I just keep up with South Carolina State and Morgan, just for the simple fact that when they have their showdown, the winner of that game, if Morgan wins, could make it a 3-way tie, and then all these tiebreakers come into effect. But other than that, to be honest with you, I don't keep up with much MEAC football, which I probably should do a little bit more, but I don't keep up with it much except those teams. And then I keep up with Norfolk because of Coach Olders, but other than that. But it, like I say, chalk hill in most of those games, they came out the way that you thought, with the exception of the Hampton game.
Yeah, I think for me, definitely that Tennessee State game, that 45-20 win. Again, I've just been looking at this team this year, and again, I think if you are a Tennessee State alum and fan, you just got to be excited about kind of the prospects of what they look like just all of 2024, right? 7-3 on the season. Of course, they have 2 losses in conference that you really, really wish you can get those games back and kind of get the offense going a little bit more. But sitting at 7-3 and 4-2 in conference, listen, that's progress. And to think about some of the pieces they lost in the offseason, I keep saying it. If they had some of these pieces that they lost in the offseason, you're probably talking about them possibly being Big South OVC champs, right? And so they still have an outside shot, right? It depends on how it's going to fall. Tennessee Tech is 4-2. You got UT Martin that they lost to early in the season at 5-1, and obviously Southeast Missouri State is 5-1. If Tennessee Tech beats UT Martin, and then Tennessee State wins out, you'll have a 4-way tie at 6-2, right? For first place in that conference, right? And then obviously you get into all these tiebreaker scenarios, right? So Tennessee State has an outside shot and chance still to win this conference. But at the end of the day, I mean, even if they can finish tied for first, you got to say, man, look at what they've been able to do. 9 wins on the season, 9-3. I think that's huge progress for them there. Kerry, man, anything stands out to you from these slew of games?
I just the main thing stands out, like Coach Northern. I've been watching, Morgan and South Carolina State, and every week I'm hoping they both win because I can't wait to see the collision course coming up, and that's going to be I think that's going to be just as good as when they played North Carolina Central. So I'm really looking forward to that. But I'm surprised at Tennessee State. I just think that they might really have a shot. I was going to ask you, even if they can't win the OVC, do you like their chances at a playoff spot?
Yeah, I don't think they have a chance at a playoff spot just because, again, man, their schedule is not a schedule that is strong. You know, when you talk about some of the early season games they had, UAPB, the Valleys, right? And again, even though they handled those teams, those aren't wins that's going to get you to get a playoff spot over, say, a Southern Illinois that played a, Missouri Valley schedule, right? Or, a South Dakota, right, who's not going to win their conference but had a strong schedule. Idaho State Idaho is not going to win their conference, right? But they had a strong schedule. So there's a lot of other teams that I think, are going to get shots at playoffs before Tennessee State. Unfortunately, right now, it would be nice if Tennessee State could sneak in, or even like a Central. But I just don't think right now either their schedules and their out of conference, wins versus losses is kind of making a strong case for them this year. Unfortunately, that's my thoughts. I don't know, Coach, your thoughts there, but.
Yes, I'm pretty much the same way. The strength of schedule is going to get frowned upon by some people.
Yeah, so I think that's going to be the trouble. And I see the thing. Boom is saying he thinks Tennessee State can get a large bid. I see Truth Seeker, he agreed. They're not going. They need to go ahead and join HBC conference like we said. All right, you know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, so let's keep it going, man. You talked about that Morgan Delaware State victory. I think that was big for them, obviously, to continue to set up a showdown where possibly they can get a win and create create a 3-way tie, possibly, right? You know what I'm saying, for the MEAC. And obviously you only have 6 teams there, so these games are very vital. I would have to say right now, I still give, if you're giving any team the edge, I think South Carolina State right now is just kind of, they're rolling in on a high. It looks like Chinnisberry, if he can get past that last Morgan State hump, they're going to basically cruise to this MEAC championship in that first year. And again, this goes back to why I say I like how the MEAC schedule sets up, right? You get those first 5-6 games in the season to kind of get all the kinks out and know who you are before you got to roll into MEAC conference play. And I think that's what happened this year when you look at kind of how things went down for South Carolina State. But let's keep it moving, man, and go into the SWAC slate. Take a little bit more of our time here as we talk about some of the games that went down. Definitely a couple close games, right? You know what I'm saying, and close battles. I definitely think a couple surprises, I feel like, too, right? But let's start it off first and foremost with Alabama A&M versus UAPB. 52-24 victory for Alabama A&M. And it looks, man, A&M's offense has just been awakened, right? Throughout this, second half of the season. Xavier Langford, 5-9 for 84 yards and a touchdown. Had 2 interceptions. Cornelius Brown, 9 of 12 for 65 yards. And so only 149 yards passing. But listen, on the ground, 356 yards and 5 touchdowns. My man Donovan England went off for 26 for 148 and 5 tubs, man. You talking about a day. You talking about a day, man. He had a day, right? You know what I'm saying? Mekhi Hangles, 13 to 29, 172 yards, touchdown and interception. And, you know, Javonte Gibbs, 6 catches, 86 yards and a touchdown. So, of course, got in the end zone, but not anything crazy stat-wise for him, especially some of the things we've seen in the past. And so when you talk about just the overall, you know, stats for the day, 505 total yards for Alabama A&M, 317 for UAPB. Of course, UAPB and Alabama A&M both had 3 turnovers, though. And I think, you know, with the way Alabama A&M was rolling on the ground, those turnovers obviously became really huge for UAPB. So even though they didn't necessarily lose the turnover battle, right? I mean, giving the ball away 3 times, you know, that's going to keep you in a position where you're not able to score and keep up with this A&M offense. And that's what happened this game. Any thoughts from this game for either one of you?
Well, the thing about it, A&M was down early, and then it looked like they just got to going, and Pine Bluff couldn't stop anything. But it was a good bounce back win after the loss that they had, a last-minute loss. Sometimes that team that you lose to the week before can beat you again. So that's a good job by the Alabama A&M coaching staff for getting their guys together. And it looked like Pine Bluff just can't find that magic again. And you're going to have, like I say, they're a real young ball club. You're going to have some things.
Yeah, they were real young.
Where they'll get hot, and then they'll get cold. And then next week they might put up 40 points, depending on who they play. And then they'll go back cold again. So that's just what happens with young ball clubs.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that sounded like that was a tough game because for A&M to score that many points from just running the ball, that lets me know they had a lot of short field with those turnovers. Because, you know, getting 52 points when you didn't throw that much,
Yes.
you know, that's pretty.
No.
Said UAPB is a young team. I expected them to get more passing yards than that because I know A&M has struggled with stopping the pass. But, you know, kudos to them. Maybe we will get to see another year of Coach Maynard.
Yeah. Maybe, just maybe, right? You know what I'm saying? So let's talk real quick about this Mississippi Valley Jackson State game. Very similar to the UAPB Alabama A&M game, I believe, right? When you look at kind of how the stats laid out. 190 total yards of offense for Valley. And so Jackson State was able to, you know, pretty much keep them, you know, at bay, especially to talk about the second half. Obviously, it was a 14 to 23 game at halftime. At one point, it was 14-14, right? And so Valley was, you know, dead, you know, even in that game throughout the first 2 quarters. But throughout the second half, Jackson State was able to turn it up, score 14 points in both the third and the fourth quarter. And we look at the passing game, only 105 yards passing for Jackson State, right? But then you look at what they was able to do on the ground, 368 yards on the ground, 187 for Irv Mulligan off of 18 carries for a touchdown. And then also Jacobian Morgan, the quarterback there, 68 yards with a touchdown. And Travis Terrell, the freshman, 6 carries, 63 yards and 2 touchdowns this game. And so, you know, Jackson State was really able to kind of just control the ball, right? You know, keep the ball on the ground. Had the ball for basically over 33 minutes in this game, and basically able to take care of Mississippi Valley in the second half. Any thoughts on this game, and just the fight that maybe Valley was able to put up in that first half, right, to keep it close?
Like I say, sometimes when you have you could say it's a rivalry game, but it's really not. But when you have such familiarity between the players, you're gonna get a game like that. That game started off, like I say, Valley was up maybe 14-9. And then Jackson said, all right, man, we done played around with them enough. Let's go ahead on and play the type of defense that we known to play. And then let's just use our size advantage and our depth to put a whooping on the Delta Devils. Now, that's the way it just happened. But you're going to get that environment. But Valley can't sustain because of the depth, the numbers. The drop-off between 1 and 2 is probably the biggest at Valley than it is at any other school in the conference.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and that's what threw me off too, because I didn't get to see the second half, but I think the death caught them off because I was getting excited for Valley. They were right in there, but like it had been past death catch up with them, and unfortunately they. But I thought that first half showed that they weren't there to Jackson State. They didn't lay down. They went toe to toe, but it didn't work out for them in the end. Wasn't enough bullets in the gun.
Gotcha. Yeah, you kind of breaking up a little bit there, Kerry. But Jess is, put in the comments to remind us, right, beginning of that game, there was a tragic accident that happened on Friday. Ryan Quinney, linebacker for Valley, passed in a tragic car accident, before that game. And so, it's definitely tough, when you have, players, right, who built relationships with, other fellow players, right, and even with other coaches, what I'm saying, members of campus, and, something tragic like this happens. And so, for them to even, get through the game, like Jess is mentioning here, is really a big deal. So, first and foremost, our prayers out to the Quinney family, to Valley, right, to support staff, the coaches, the players, because it is something that's tough to get through, even for them to even be able to play that game and even be in that game at all, is super big, right? So, moving on, man, I want to jump to the Alcorn Texas Southern game before the last two we'll talk about. They were a little bit closer. This one, obviously, 42-21 victory for Alcorn State. It was 14-14 at halftime, but similar to Jackson State game, similar to the Alabama A&M game, really Alcorn just got rolling the second half, and Texas Southern, their offense could never match what Alcorn brought to the table. So only 176 total yards of offense for Texas Southern, right? 16-29 for Chase Wilson for 120 yards. That's only 4 yards per catch average, right? So, really struggling to get the ball downfield. And then when you talk about, Alcorn, you talk about 192 yards through the air. That's 171 for Xavier Vaughn with a touchdown, 13 of 18. So very efficient there. He also had 13 carries for 130 yards and 2 touchdowns, by the way. So Xavier Vaughn was really going off this past game against Texas Southern. Jacorian Sewell, 13 carries for 69 yards and a touchdown. And also Anthony Williams, 9 carries, 42 yards and a touchdown. And so total of 298 yards on the ground for Alcorn. So a little bit more balanced, right? So not 192 yards, so almost hitting 200. And so a little bit less rushing yards, right? Less than 300 than we've seen the past 2 games, right? 298, but still hitting the door there, right? You know what I'm saying? So any thoughts toward this game, man, and what Valley was Alcorn is able to show and really being to get it rolling in the second half and keep themselves within striking distance, right, of Southern coming into these last 2 big ball games for them.
The biggest thing I noticed was the rushing yards for Alcorn, like say 290 to about 60. If you get above 250 yards, it's hard to lose a football game. I don't care who you're playing against or whatever, but Alcorn just, like I say, they turned it on and kept it on with the run game. The other thing, Texas Southern only averaged 2 yards a carry. So if they can't push the ball down the field passing wise, and you only averaging 2 yards a carry, you can sort of pin your ears back and like say stop when you get to the quarterback type of deal. And he had some completions, but he's not a real big kid, so he's not really looking to push the ball down the field unless it's an early throw, and they just couldn't get it going.
Yeah, it was really tough, man, on the offensive side for Texas Southern. And these past 3 games we just looked at, it seemed like one team really just struggled in all 3 of these games from an offensive standpoint. UAPB, Valley, and then this game with Texas Southern. And the second half, it seems like all of those 3 games just got blown out the water. So moving on, man, let's talk about the Alabama State Grambling game. And this one, like I said, I think Coach Eddie Robinson is really, really hurting, right? Because really they controlled that game going into the fourth quarter. They was up 23-10, and Grambling was able to score 14 unanswered to take the lead and hold on for the victory. And so give Alabama State their second conference loss. So Kareem Key, 16-28 for 280 yards. I mean, you talk about Alabama State and you're thinking about them having more passing yards than rushing yards. Well, this was the game, right? Only 97 rushing yards on the ground for Alabama State this game. Now, I think something that was interesting is, Kinsey only got 4 carries, and then we didn't see Holesclaw. So I don't know if he was hurt. I don't know if anybody from Alabama State or Graham that watched that game know if that was mentioned. But that was really interesting because I didn't see Holesclaw, who normally gets a bulk of the carries, and then Kinsey only got 4 carries this game, and I thought that was pretty interesting, from Alabama State. But they were still balanced, 28 passes, 32 rushes, but not really able to get it going on the ground. Talk about Grambling, 6 of 12 for DJ Bailey for 76 yards and an interception, but they had 171 rushing yards for 247 yards total on the game. And so again, right, they were able to stick close, right, stay in the game, and be able to close it out at the end, man. And Coach, I know you said you were able to finish this game kind of shortly before we came on.
Yes.
What did you see, man, that really helped Grambling to get over that hump, especially in the fourth quarter, especially with the Alabama State defense? You would think, hey, you up 13 points, you're going to be able to close the game out with 15 minutes left in the game.
And that's what happens sometimes when you have a defensive coach. One thing happened. Alabama State was doing a rollout pass. Grambling sent the guy off the edge, and Alabama State's quarterback, I don't know if he got hit directly on the ball, but he fumbled. Grambling recovered and had a short field. So that's what really got Grambling going back in the right direction. Also, if you go back and look at it, Grambling scored. Alabama State get the ball back with about 2 minutes left in the game, 1:50. They get 2 long pass plays. On first down, Alabama State faked the toss, and, man, they had a guy that was so wide open. The quarterback probably, if he could do it again, could throw a left hand, and it would have been for a touchdown, and he overthrew the joker about 5 yards. And that's what really changed cost him the game. I wouldn't say the field goal missed, but when he missed that wide open receiver with about 50 seconds left in the game, I think that really hurt him more than anything, because there's no way, I guarantee he could do that, 9 times out of 10. But unfortunately, in the game, get that do-over. But, I mean, just if you see that pass, and I'm pretty sure they look in, and we just could have got that, it's a different ball game. But Grambling's defense stepped up, and Alabama State offense and special teams didn't step up, even though they got down the field. But I tell you what, man, that was disheartening. And I like to say, I like Coach Rob. I thought he used to come to Prairie View a lot when he was not in coaching. He and Coach Frazier were good friends, and he would come up and stop by all the time. And I went out there and visited him. I'll say when he first got the job, I went out and visited with him. But like I said, I pulled for him. But man, that's one that's gonna sting in the off season right there.
Yeah, that one definitely gonna hurt. Like I said, especially with them kind of being in position to still be able to get the job done in the East. And like Edwin's saying here, to give a 14-point lead and then miss a field goal. Listen, I mean, for a team that the team is based around its defense, right? You know what I'm saying? It really got to hurt, right? Even with giving Graham the short fields, it's like, hey, man, that's our job to stop these guys, make them have to kick a field goal, give up the 2 touchdowns, man. That really, really stung for Grambling there. So, but again, one of the great games for the weekend in that Graham versus Alabama State game. Kerry, man, any thoughts on that Graham versus Alabama State before we move on to talk about this Bethune-Southern game?
Once again, it was a classic game that proves the parity in the SWAC. Because I really thought that without Miles Crowley, that Alabama State's defense would do what they needed to do to pull that game out. And that was really a good game, the way that they stood up on them. Because to be honest, I watched that game, but not at the very end. So I thought Alabama State had it. I was watching because I was flipping all the games in the SWAC this week started at the same time. So I'm flipping all the games, and that's another one that caught me off guard because I thought the Bees won that game. So
you gotta finish it. I mean, you gotta close it out.
Finish it. And the coaches say that every week. We gotta learn to finish.
Got to close it out, man. And so, like I said, that one is going to really hurt for Alabama State. because they were really in prime position, man, to get the job done. Now, I mean, they still have opportunity, right? 2 weeks left, but you got to beat Jackson, and then you got to hope that Alcorn beats Jackson, right? Which that's a rivalry game, and anything can always happen, right, in a rivalry game. So they still got to continue to play, not let this one, kill the next one, right? But let's move on, right? Bethune-Cookman versus Southern. Listen, 5 overtimes in this one, man. And I'm sure that just like Alabama State, Bethune-Cookman is definitely seeking to say, man, we wish we could have this game back. But listen, Bethune, you're not alone, all right? There's a lot of other schools that feel exactly how you feel right now dealing with this Southern team this year, that just time and time again is finding themselves being able to get over these humps, right, and get these victories. Talk about this game. Cameron Ransom was 23 of 36 for 243 yards and 2 touchdowns. Bethune-Cookman only 66 yards on the ground. Dennis Palmer, 19 carries for 84 yards and a touchdown. They basically leaned on him the whole game, and Cam Ransom with 13 for negative 24. Talk about Southern, 8 for 18 for T-Set for 111 yards. You had Jalen Woods at 5 of 10 for 55 yards, a touchdown and interception. But listen, Kobe Dillon, 19 carries for 130 yards, and then Kendrick Rhymes, 15 carries for 90 yards and a touchdown, right? CJ Russell also added a touchdown on 5 carries for 17 yards. And so you talk about, the balanced attack, air and on the ground. Southern 164 passing yards, 233 rushing yards, right? And so total 397 yards, throughout this game. You talk about the time of possession, Bethune owned the time of possession, 36 minutes. They had the ball. Southern also had 2 turnovers in this game, 1 fumble and 1 interception thrown. But yet at the end of the day, Bethune was not able to close the game out, right? It's 3-0 at halftime, 3-0 at the end of the third quarter. Bethune up. Southern comes down and scores. They're up 7-3. Bethune scores. They're up to 10-7, right? And Southern was able to go ahead and tie the game to go into overtime. And obviously, we see that Southern was able to get over the hump in 5 overtimes, man. And so it's another instant classic for 2024 season, man. What was your thoughts on this game, Coach? And how was Southern able to get over this hump again? Losing a turnover battle by 2 points.
Hey, man. So, I'm calling the Prairie View game. My wife is Southern's co-offensive coordinator from our living room. She watching it. She listening to the game, and she's texting me as I'm calling the game, talking about, it was an overthrown ball. They went for it on 4th down, didn't get it. Why are we passing the ball or running the ball on this down and distance, and all this type of stuff. But I keep saying this, man, and people, and I'm not being a homer, but this, and I believe this as I've coached at different places in the SWAC. If you don't put Southern away, them dudes think they gonna win. If it's close, they like, no matter how close it is, even if they down and it's close, we gonna figure out a way to win, or they gonna figure out a way to lose. That's just a simple mentality of it. And the bad thing is, against certain teams that has happened to already, it seems to happen more often than not. But like I say, man, you can say all that stuff about chicken feet and all that. It's a mindset. And when it keeps happening to you as a football player, you think it's going to happen again. As a football coach, I know Coach Graves and Coach Fredericks preach like, guys, we can't keep living this lifestyle because sooner or later it's going to catch up to you. Like I say, a dog chasing the car ain't going to do it for so long before you get hit. But, man, it's a mentality. Trust me on that one. And, they were lucky enough to pull it out. I heard it was a decent crowd, not the best of crowds. It was raining off and on. And they, like I say, they found a way to pull that sun gun out once again.
And listen, you can say all you want to say. That dog is weaving in and out of traffic, and it's been weaving in and out of traffic for the last 3 months. That dog know what it's doing. Let that dog run in traffic as much as
right.
Okay. All right. The dog been running in traffic all season long. I don't want to hear nothing about the dog getting hit. The dog ain't gonna get hit.
He ain't gonna get hit. He's not getting hit.
Listen, it done ran in Houston traffic. It done ran in country. It done ran in country Prairie View traffic. All right.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It done ran in Bethune-Cookman, Baton Rouge traffic. I don't want to hear nothing about this dog no more. Let the dog do whatever it want to do it obviously know what it's doing. Okay, but
Yeah.
go ahead, Kerry.
No, that dog know what he doing. Because that dog right there, he missing some fur. He probably walk with a limp, but he
Dog
know what
probably got the chicken feet tied to his ear. You know what I'm saying? The chicken
There
foot
you
probably
go.
to the dog's ear.
Yeah, let Vine tell it. He still got it freeze wrapped somewhere.
Yeah.
So yeah, that chicken foot is there somewhere. I'm telling you, but they might not be able to take it to the Delta if they go to the championship. But I think what helps the chicken foot is all the way back to when they had that running back Leonard Tillery.
Yeah.
Southern has always had a running back that they 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4, and you like, we got him. In some kind of way, he just gets 6 yards. And that's what I remember Tillery used to be able to do. He break our heart. So the Kendrick Rhymes and those guys like that, they ain't gonna be all on the front page having a 200-yard game, but they get critical 3rd down yards. And I don't know if it was Dylan or Rhymes that it broke our heart in the overtime. It's just like defense played good all game, and they just hit that hole right up between the guard and the tackle just right. I mean, between the guard and the center just right, and nobody could do anything. They're just big enough where you got to hit them solid or they're not going down, and they're just fast enough that when you reaching, you're not gonna grab them quick enough. And that's what I think has been winning those close games for them.
Listen, y'all thought there's a Jaguar, it's a Doberman Pinscher over here running around in Baton Rouge. You know what I'm saying? That dog just in and out of traffic, got 9 lives like it's a cat. All right, you know what I'm saying? Oh man, Edwin say that's a Monroe analogy for you. Shouts out to Rose City. All right, you know what I'm saying? Shouts out to North Louisiana, Monroe. Y'all know what it is, man. But yeah, man. Listen, only need Perry says, listen, they just trying to go 1-0 each week. That's all they got to go. If they go 1-0 any other week, right? The job is done, right? You know what I'm saying? And they got into the SWAC championship game. And at the end of the day, you get into that game, you have a chance to win. Listen, as much as Jackson State is been looked at as, you know, a team that is the perennial power right now in the SWAC, Jackson State has lost to Grambling. And I don't care if anybody talk about turnovers, this. You can turn the ball over again. Yeah. If you turn it over once, you can turn it over twice. All right. And listen, Grambling ain't had no chicken feet either. You know what I'm saying? So listen, you get to the game and then it's 60 minutes, right? And we see what happened there. So having a chance to play them early in the season as a non-SWAC game obviously gives them an opportunity to come back and kind of refresh. And so it's going to be interesting. And I know there's going to be a big game for the SWAC if they're able to get the job done and complete what they've already started this season. Obviously, Alcorn is still waiting in the wings. I know Perry is. I know Pease is really interested in seeing Alcorn being able to get the job done these next 2 weeks, right? And seeing Southern maybe drop a game or two so they can get into it. But listen, Southern is right there on the cusp, and so they're only got to take care. They can take care of UAPB, right? Hey man, it's a wrap, right? And then Grambling is just playing for literally bragging rights at that point. But that's always a big one. So with that being said, man, again, if you want to call in, 516-253-3434, 516-253-3434. Before we get to, you know what I'm saying, bite and bite again, you feel me? You know what I'm saying? Before we get to that one, y'all already know it's your favorite segment, man. It's Northern Lights. All right. We always put the spotlight on Coach Northern, right? So he can talk to us about his experiences, about things that he's seen. And it's very interesting because this past weekend, all up and down the timeline, people been talking about the band. You know, SWAC is always about the band. Now, you know, sometimes the SWAC, Marching Storm was just trying to go 1-0 this weekend too. All right. So we went 1-0 too. All right. You know what I'm saying? We won the stand. They won on the stands and on the field too as well. All right. They want, you know what I mean? So, but with that being said, it was interesting to say, Coach, man, you've been around different places. Man, what is some of your favorite all-time SWAC band songs, man? So, Coach Northern.
All right. I'm going to start it off with this, my honorable mention. Then I'm going to go top 5 from 5 to 1. So my honorable mention is South Carolina State. They have a song that's called Hello, and it's like a hype song that sort of get them started, sort of when they get in, and throughout the game they'll play it. My other top song that was played by a band that went viral was when Southern played Hello by Adele at the Battle of the Bands in New Orleans, and then they played it throughout the game. My other going up, just honorable mention. It's not 5 to 1. Alcorn, they got funky stuff, and they call this song Cherokee. I call it War Chant. The song that they play when they get a first down or a touchdown. The dun 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 dun. I've been liking that a long time, even though I got tired of hearing it a couple times, especially when they had Steve McNair in the building. Then I coached at Morehouse, so Morehouse played Rolling. Papa was a Rolling Stone. And then they say, when he died, all he left us was the house. And they play it a whole lot over there. But I really like the song because I like the original version and the way that they play it. The other part, oh man, this one was almost, if they would have been a SWAC school, I probably would have put this in my top 5. Man, I love me some Ball and Parlay by Tuskegee. I like, if I'm riding by myself or I'm cleaning up around the house, I might just put Ball and Parlay Tuskegee on the YouTube and listen to it over and over again. That's why I want to go to a Tuskegee. If they play that song in the first quarter, I might just doggone leave, man. I'm fine. The other one, Prairie View, didn't make my top 5, but I love P-Funk when Prairie View Band. I love it more than Swamp and anything else that they play. But I love me some P-Funk, just the way the tube was hitting that song gun. All right. So this is my top 5 going from 5 to 1. So number 5, I got June 27th, Texas Southern Band. And just like I say, that's something you can listen to regularly on your ride. Even if, no matter how you listen to it, it's a good song to jam to. Number 4, my sister might kill me for this one, but I'm going with Grambling. So Grambling I love Grambling, the version of, if they just play Nick, just Grambling version by itself, that's going to be one of my top songs. But they play Nick, and then they roll into We Ready and start the GS, all that. It rolls into it. That's my number 4. My number 3 song, and my wife hate me for this one. I ain't going to say she hate me, but my wife said I had her thinking about this song, Bethune-Cookman, Hell Wildcat. Now, when I'm just walking around the house, don't have nothing to do, boom, 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 Wildcat. Man, I just love that. Let's go. And we played it. My very first game as the head coach at Prairie View, we played Bethune-Cookman. And man, that band played that song so many times, I probably could have went up there and played it myself. I got tough time, but I just love it, and they get into it. Southern fans might want to turn their radios off or YouTube channels. Southern is number 2, and this it ain't over till it's over. I love that because, like I say, that goes back to the mindset. We still in this thing. But my favorite Southern song of all time, because I play defense, is Dog Day D. A lot of people don't know nothing about it, but when they go dun-dun-dun-dun-dun, Dog Day, dun-dun-dun-dun-dun, Dog Day D. Hey, man, I'm getting chills talking about that right now, thinking about playing defense when I was in school. That's number 2. And a lot of people going to hate me for this. I'm sorry, Baton Rouge. I'm sorry, Houston. But my number 1 HBCU band song, not my favorite band, but the song is Get Ready by Jackson State. When they march into that stadium and that thing is packed, you can't beat listening to Get Ready as they marching into the stadium, and the way they turn when they get to the top of the stairs. But also too, I gotta put the show in there. And I go back to when we played them, I want to say it was 95, my senior year. Like I say, the only game we lost, and we playing in Jackson, Mississippi. And in my mind, they played the show the whole 4th quarter, and they end up winning. It was a close football game, but I mean, you can't beat, oh man, I can't say it enough. You can't beat Get Ready, and you can't beat the show when it's a good Jackson State football team, and they ain't had too many bad ones, but that's great. So I'm gonna leave it at that. Number one, I'm going with them Tigers out of Jackson, Mississippi. No, Perry, I just saw that. Hey, man, I'm not going to say no because you know what? And it's just off the subject. I take great. So I'm going to go back just my background. So I went to Southern. When I first got to Southern, we were not a very good football program, and we ended up winning 2 championships in the 5 years I was in school. I went to Grambling. Grambling was not very good when I first got there, and we ended up winning 3 championships under the leadership of Doug Williams, where I was his recruiting coordinator and eventually ended up being his defensive coordinator. Also, I came to Prairie View with Coach Frazier. Prairie View, they were moving in the right direction, but had not won. So I'm not going to say I take great pride in saying that I have helped resurrect some football program, even though I did one as a student athlete. But I know the hard work that it takes to do it, and I wouldn't say no to going to A&M if somebody. Now my wife and kids not coming, but that'll be something that she already told me. Look, this is God honest truth. You can go to Mississippi, you can go to Alabama, and we'll see y'all when y'all come play Prairie View or Texas Southern. That's her exact words.
Basically.
Yeah.
Like, listen, basically. And first of all, she about to be running after your son anyway. So whatever you about to do as Joker, you going to do it on your own anyway. She going to be driving up and down to go see where he playing at. All right.
Yeah.
You know? So that's a big one though, man. Hey, listen, Coach Northern, hey, they're talking about PV legends here, right? With that resurrection from Coach Frazier. And, man, first of all, shouts out to Coach Frazier, at Virginia State right now. Still, that man is just winning wherever he go. Wherever he touch, it just like start turning to gold and stuff. So, he's doing his thing over there at Virginia State too as well, CIAA. But talk about bands. Listen, Kerry, anyone that you feel like, was left out, what do you want to add on to Coach Northern's list, man? Or do you think he got it spot on? Because I see some people in the chat that's feeling the type of way. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, the Southern people didn't like him saying that. So about Jackson State, but I'm not gonna lie, they when their stadium is full, whenever they play, it just when we played them in the championship, I'm not gonna lie, that atmosphere. Game because their band is really into it, and all schools their band just isn't into it like that. But you guys are gonna joke me for it, and they went to commercial. I wasn't there to hear the whole thing, but more recent this weekend, Prairie View broke out with the Sanford and Son song, and that just messed me up. And I asked my son's girlfriend, she graduated a couple years ago. She played in the band. I said, "Hey, was the Sanford and Son song in your playbook?" She said, "I don't know nothing about that." But when they busted out with that this weekend, they went da 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 da. I mean, they hit it spot on, and I just turned the TV up. I was really tripping. I said, I just like when they get playful and do different things like that. Just like when they did Michael Jackson the previous game. So I like when they get creative like that, but I like Coach Northern's list. I have no objection to it.
Hey, that was part of the Quincy, what's my man name, the musical director, Quincy, whatever is the Q. That was a part of it because a lot of people didn't know that he wrote the Sanford and Son theme song, as well as a couple others. But that's why they were playing the Sanford and Son song as a part of the tribute.
Oh, okay. The TV cut that off, but they did it good though. I was surprised.
Nah, hey, listen, that's what's up. Like, man, I can't lie, Coach Northern. I mean, you kind of spot on. Now I have to slide some stuff on your list up for the longest time, and there's a little biasness. I'm not gonna lie, right? Because listen, I know Edwin already mentioned it. Listen, I am from North Louisiana. All right, Monroe to be exact. So listen. Me and my dad was running up and down in Grambling games. All right, you know what I'm saying? But listen, they play that neck and roll into, listen, that GSGSU, Ain't nothing like it. All right. It just is what it is. You just gotta take it how you take it. Okay.
Yeah.
But that's like that song will always be etched. All right. And especially when the team is rolling too and they hit it at the right time. Whew. Like, listen, that thing will move you, right? But I can't lie. In the last decade or so, right? After I heard this song, first of all, I was upset at Prairie View and Texas Southern people. I'm like, how in the world y'all let this song get up out of Texas and go to Alabama? Listen, I was upset. All right, just the arrangement, just everything, and every time I hear it, I'm like, yo, that thing knocks. Okay, Ball and Parlay, bro.
Mm-hmm.
If that ain't one, then I don't listen. That's the 1, the 2, and the 3. All right, you know what I'm saying? Listen, whether sunny or gray, we gon' Ball and Parlay. Listen, we get crunk it's the Tuskegee way. Listen, come on, y'all. Ain't nothing like that Ball and Parlay. I jammed to that Ball and Parlay multiple times. Okay, it goes down with that Ball and Parlay. Okay, so I can't lie. That one's on the map. You know what I mean? Like, that one's my number one right there. I can't lie to you. I can't lie. So she say Let's Go is her number one. Ball and Parlay is number 2. Oof, nah, I can't do it. Listen, that Ball and Parlay get you every time. You listen, when you hear that. Come on, man. Listen, that hey, Tuskegee. Hey, shake my hand. All right. Shake my hand. Y'all got it. All right. So with that being said, man, we appreciate y'all for sharing and for hearing this Northern Lights again. And I want to remind y'all, right? We probably 2 weeks from our very special Northern Lights. All right. Listen, we gonna take a bigger segment. And we're going to talk about some SWAC head coach firings, right? Because we're going to talk about what goes on behind the scenes. Y'all thought y'all knew what happened with these coach firings. Coach Northern's about to lay it out, all right? You know what I'm saying? So y'all want to make sure y'all here in 2 Sundays from now. It's going to go down, man, on the special Northern Lights. We're talking about SWAC head coach firings. So make sure y'all locked in. Make sure y'all go ahead and hit the notification bell to talk about that, right? I know. Listen, right now, Ty said the A&M program ain't for sale. And Perry trying to sell it. All right. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if he got a special deal going on or something. You know what I mean? You know, I don't know if he got, you know, he got inroads with the AD. You know, he might be a broker or something trying to sell the Alabama A&M program to a new coach. But all I'm saying is we're going to be talking about some SWAC head coaching firings coming up in a couple weeks. So make sure y'all here. But with that said, man, let's get to the last game from this past week. Woo. Hey, listen, 31-12, Prairie View over FAMU. Listen, it wasn't no striking going on, all right, in Northeast Houston, Texas, all right, you know what I'm saying, this weekend. Coach, man, talk a little bit. What was your thoughts, man, about this game? How was Prairie View able to come in and get the win this game and really control the game from jump all the way to the end?
Man, I'm going to tell you this. So after the game, I walked around a little bit, and I called Coach Whedon. Because I have a great relationship with Coach McDowell, but sometimes I just don't want to bother him, to put it lightly. But I called Coach Whedon. I say, hey, man, tell Coach McDowell that he owes his offensive line and his defensive line coach an extra meal. Them boys on the team deserve an extra piece of chicken in their post-game meal. And if he don't take his coaches to dinner, he owe them a bottle of their favorite beverage, because them jokers came to play. And I mentioned it last week. I said, sometimes when you play people that don't nobody think you're going to beat, or if you're going to fight somebody and you know they got hands, you come prepared for war. And those guys stood up and played. Really, if you think about it, Prairie View got pressure with 4 guys most of the night on the defensive side of the ball. Their offensive line kept the quarterback clean for a term of, I don't think they gave up 1 sack, but they did a great job of letting him make some easy throws, run the ball well enough to keep him honest. But man, you can't give it enough. And people always talk about the offensive line and defensive line playing the SWAC, but sometimes that comes with the territory. But them jokers stepped up and made plays. The only thing that gave me a little bit concerned was a few. They still had about 10 penalties, and I think 4 were personal fouls. But the other thing was not giving up a lot of big plays on third down. I think that was the key, and I thought they were going to get into a little bit of lull offensively, but they broke out of it and put some separation in between. But they played a great game, man.
No, that's what's up, man. Kerry, man, what was your thoughts on this one? 31-21 Prairie View.
I was surprised at the play in the trenches, but also Coach Weed made an adjustment that, and I know we're trying to keep the red shirt, but I've been begging all year. Put that Bingham in the game. Cause that running back is, anybody that's trained by the human cheat code, Dewanye Tucker, is gonna be good. And man, I mean, he don't care if it's not a hole. He just squirts out anyway. I don't know what Dewanye Tucker been teaching him, but boy, that guy can find a hole. And we gave a lot of touches to McDowell, and that's one of the things I was kind of looking forward to as well, because he could be our Derrick Henry. I mean, a running back that's 6'2", 230, 230 pounds. You should run him till his tongue is hanging out his helmet. And it opened up the passing game, which we didn't even have to throw a lot.
Yes.
Because of how Burns did. I was nervous when I saw Savage running around in street clothes, but the other receivers really stepped up, and Whedon was not scared to use the tight end. And I think that made a difference in the game too, because FAMU's not scared to use a tight end, which is what causes them to win so much in the SWAC. And they were not happy, and I wasn't happy about the penalties, but I was shocked that we didn't get more penalties than we did, because hey, I hate to say this in public, but the refs in that game were not the best. I'll just say that. Yeah. And Stokes was being held so
game of the refs the best in, by the way.
Well, yeah, that's true too. But I mean, Stokes was held so much, and you know how he gets mad. He was held so much, he needs a new jersey. Those edges, because he was giving them fits. They were pulling his shirt off, shoulder pad hanging out. They still didn't. And then our quarterback got hit out of bounds at least 3 times. Mm-hmm. I think they called it once, but it was so much chippiness that I'm just surprised it wasn't more penalties, because the refs kind of just let things fly. And it was they could have put a better control on the game. But other than that, I think the team did a really good job. Putting in a code of controlling the it said of controlling the trenches and everything. So it was a good game, I think.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a great game. I think one thing, that's a question I had for sure, right? Because, and I'm still interested to find out if Bingman still has the ability to keep his red shirt, right? I think you're able to play, 3 or 4 games, Coach?
I think it's 4.
4 games and still maintain your red shirt. I believe I saw him in 2 games early in the season for sure. I know for sure, right? That he got some playing time in. So this is either the 3rd or the 4th. So I'm really interested if he doesn't still have his red shirt. My question is really why this Joker ain't been seeing way more playing time, because I think it was pretty evident for a lot of people looking early in the season when we saw him against even those couple carries he got against TSU, even especially the Grambling game, right? It's like, man, he just has something special, right? And obviously being connected with a PV legend, right? You know what I'm saying? Dewanye Tucker, who trained him up, right? This is cousin. And so you see it, right? You see that he just got that spark in him. And so every game he's played in, every time he's got touches, man, he's done something that made you say, man, this kid is going to be something, here for Prairie View for a very long time. And so I really would love if we would see him get more touches throughout this season, because I think he's shown that he's one of the best backs we got right? Even as a true freshman. And I definitely was happy to see that Lamar, right, has been really getting major carries, right, throughout this last couple of games. I think one thing, if I would say in the early mid-season, right, was none of the running backs were really getting substantial carries, right? And I think at the end of the day, if you're trying to get somebody going, you probably got to shorten your rotation, right? Instead of 4 guys, and maybe shorten it to maybe really 2.5 almost, right? Just to say, hey, listen, we're going to take these 2 guys. These are 2 guys that have shown in practice in fall camp that they're the 2 that we're going to run with starting off. Let's try to get them going, right, by giving them more of the carry, more of the load. If they can't get going, then we'll go ahead and move on, right? But I think what we've seen in these last few games is that philosophy of saying, hey, we're going to give one guy at least 10 plus touches, right? You know what I'm saying? I don't know what you think about that, Coach. And then the offensive line gets all of the awards this game, right? You know what I'm saying? Like when you talk about just them opening up, I've seen them this game open up holes that I haven't seen all season long, right? You know what I'm saying? I mean, there was sometimes where Lamar or sometimes with Chase Wright was finding holes. That was sometimes listen, that thing was wide open. And that one when when McDowell ran over the linebacker, oh my goodness, right? Like that was one where it was like literally the hole was wide open, and that was just one-on-one. You got to make a guy miss and run him over, and he ran him over, right? And so the offensive line got to get all the kudos, right? Because for as much as throughout the season we've been saying, man, hey, listen, these guys are struggling picking up the blitz. These guys are struggling, right, creating those holes. They were able to do that in this game. And, Coach, when you talk about this offensive line, what has these last couple games helped to do? Because when you talk about a line that now all of these guys were fresh at the beginning of this season, right? You talk about a lot of guys who are in their second year, right? Talk about some transfers that is second-year transfer or even third-year transfers. But now they all are going to have 12 games under their belt in real-life experience, right? What does that do when you talk about now this line maybe coming back next year after having a full season to like work out the kinks? You know, what kind of production and what kind of benefit is that for 5 guys to play together like that?
That means a whole lot because Prairie View runs a lot of zone running plays, and they run a lot of one-man power counter looks. And when you got guys that can play together, they know how to double team people, or they can point out, they know who's coming on the blitz and who's not coming on the blitz. They can figure that out on their own. So I think that's big. And I want to say the starting center, the guy that started the beginning of the season, still hadn't come back from his injury yet. So I'm not sure of his classification, but he may even be coming back. So
yeah, he did play this past game. He didn't start though. The guy that started was the backup, but he did play this game too as well.
So the other thing, I'm gonna tell you what helped him probably more than anything. That long pass to Burns on first down, that pretty much made Florida A&M come out of playing man-to-man to playing cover 2 and cover 4, and they were getting out of there. So when you playing a lot of cover 2 and cover 4, that means you have almost a 5 to a 5.5, 6-man box that's pretty ripe for picking because you don't have that safety coming down. And I tell you what, McDowell made jokers start making business decisions on the back end. Then you got the other joker that a few times before when they were running some zone stuff, they pressed front side and then cut it back. It's almost like they were getting it and they knew that B gap weak side was going to be wide open. So now they had a chance to make some plays simply because it wasn't a backside linebacker. The backside linebacker was pretty much in the free safety spot. So that helps your running game. When you can get an explosive play like that and they start backing up, hey, man, they right for the picking with the running game. You can't, but that pass made the running game. Some people say you run to set up the pass. Sometimes it's the opposite way.
Yeah, right. And it was interesting because I've been seeing a lot of banter on social media saying, oh, well, if Richardson hadn't gone down, we would have won. I don't know, because when Richardson was in there, like Coach Northern said at the beginning, that front four was putting some real pressure on him and getting him off his spot. and then running like he usually likes to run. He got a couple good runs,
Yes.
but he had so much pressure on him. He was overthrowing, underthrowing, and really, missing some guys. Of course, he's real good, so he did hit some passes, but they put some real pressure on him without a lot of blitzing, and that was a FCS ranked offense. So it wasn't like that was an easy offense to contain. So that right there, I just think that's really a little excuse. Yeah, the second string quarterback wasn't as good as Richardson, but I still don't see that he was having that much success before he, had to leave the game.
Yeah, that I think we've been talking about it all year, right? James Burns has probably beat some man-to-man coverage in the first quarter every game of this season, right? And again, we say, what happens if we actually connect on those pass plays, right? One, what we've seen the last couple games is you get up early, first of all, right? Which just helps in general, right? It settles your team down. It now opens up the running game, right? Because now, you gotta think about, having somebody over top, not leaving somebody one-on-one. So it just creates a completely different dynamic from the jump, right? From starting the game off. So if we could have been hitting on these pass plays for, throughout the beginning of the season, it really changed the whole dynamic of the game. And like Coach, you said earlier, it really will open up the run game, right? And so just looking at a couple stats, right, before we move on, Junior Maritovich, 16 to 29, 150 yards, a touchdown, did have two interceptions that were really key, I think, right, because they were red zone, INTs, right? And so I think that was big because I think FAM in that second half had a chance really to get back in the game. But Prairie View was able to, win the turnover battle of this game, right? Be able to come out with the victory. Somerset, 9 carries, 87 yards. Jamari Gassett, I was surprised here of only 3 receptions for 41 yards and a touchdown. Prairie View has struggled, holding some of these top receivers over this last, couple weeks. And so to see Gassett only come out of here with 81 yards, I think is a bowl to Prairie View's defense in this game, but also it shows that FAMU wasn't really able to get it going on the offensive side of things, right? On Prairie View side, Jaden Johnson, 12 of 16, 193 yards, a touchdown, 1 interception. Burns again with a big game, 5 receptions, 117 yards, a touchdown. McDowell, 10 carries, 43 yards, 2 touchdowns. And also here say Bingman, I think, had 7 touches for 68 yards, right? No touchdown, right? But he had some big runs, this game, man. You can see, hey, listen, he makes quick decisions. He don't waste time. And I think that's
he don't wait.
Yeah, he don't waste no time. And I think that's one thing that's beneficial about him. It's like once he sees it, he's gonna go with what he sees and get out of there, right? Instead of tiptoeing. And also Chester Gefford, right? Coming over from Idaho State, a transfer, 3 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, 2 sacks this game. And so that was really big for that defensive line, able to get into the backfield. And so what does this game do, Coach, for this team when you talk about coming into the season, really having hopes of obviously winning the SWAC West, playing for the SWAC championship game? Obviously, that's not in the picture anymore. But being able to get a win against a team that, over the last 3 years, as they always say, the only team they've lost to in the conference has been Jackson State. So what does this do when you talk about maybe momentum and maybe what this can do for this team moving into going into even the rest of this winter and then spring, looking forward to next year?
All right, let me go back a little bit to the stats too. One thing you mentioned about Junior threw 2 interceptions. One of them, remember, was a pick 6. So anytime you can get a pick 6, your chances of winning go up 75% pretty much. The other thing, the interception that Jaden Johnson threw, and I said it on the broadcast, is that's one of those throws. He made a good read, just wasn't a good throw. So you may not fuss at him as much, but his reads were on point. He did a good, like I said, that's 75% pass completion right there. And you were able to run the ball. It's hard to lose like that. The thing that you asked me about going forward, I think depending on the maturity level of the guys, it should, especially if they win out, it should show them like, hey, man, we can play with and beat anybody. That's number one. Then it's going to show them how thin the margins are. So it may take a group of guys to say, hey, man, we're not missing workouts. We're going to be in class. We're going to do the film study we're supposed to. All that small stuff. Like I always say, the ants and mosquitoes, some of those guys on the team can now draw back on, remember when we did this right against Florida A&M, and remember when we took a Texas Southern team for granted. Mm-hmm. So that can roll over into your off-season workouts, your training camp next year, your film studies. And you think about it, all those quarterbacks that's on the roster, none of those guys had played at Prairie View before. So now you got those guys. You got Coach Whedon back that can take all the plays that they need to know, the route tree, and they can pretty much have a practice or OTA on their own. They're going to be out there throwing sometimes where maybe this year, if you're not the solid starter, you may not be willing to hold guys accountable for not showing up to a passing session. But I think a win like this is going to be great for the offseason, especially you could stack another one next week against an Alcorn team that, despite their record, is still a pretty good. They got some weapons over there. So if you can beat, 2 or 3 in a row and finish strong, next season gonna be a lot. The other thing that it's gonna do, finishing strong, it may entice some other guys, whether within the conference or outside, to say, look, man, we finished the right way. I can come and help. I can be the missing piece with, just say Burns is in graduate school. He going to be gone next year. Or, you got some guys that's going to be leaving. I can be that piece to step right in and fill that guy's role.
No, that's big. Kerry, man, what do you think this does for this team? Like I said, right, out of contention this year, but how does this help moving forward, right? And then I got 2 other points before we move on, because I see a couple comments I want to get your thoughts on.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think this game kind of does to us what the UAPB game did for them. It let them know it don't matter who it is, you can beat them. And then number 2 is do your job. And that's what everybody's seen that done this game. Everybody did their job. They didn't get out of – you didn't see as many people this game just out of position, missing blocks. And I also think, and it could be wrong, but I think the game also kind of showed Coach Whedon some things too, because this game, when he got in the red zone, he didn't mess around. He gave it to his horse and, made some things happen. We didn't, when you have a reduced amount of space because of the red zone, you might not want to run that flea flicker or, something that's going to take a lot of time to develop. You're going to tell your line to pull up their britches and knock somebody out the way so we can get this score, so you don't end up having to kick 3 all the time. And I think that kind of thing lets them know, put touchdowns on people and you can take their heart, and that's how you win.
Yeah. No, that's real, man. And listen, it's a big win. Like, it's a big win. You got to move forward, right? But now I want to call a number first of all before we get to these comments. 516-253-3434, 516-253-3434. Go ahead and call in if you're looking to want to share something here, because we're about to get to the games of the week and then we're gonna close out. But I saw this comment here, right? Perry put, and this is what I was hollering last year too, right? Because, and Coach, I want to get your thoughts, because even those years when they were saying, hey, let's get rid of the divisions, right? Say last year, for example, right? Let's get rid of the divisions. Well, Alcorn beat the number 2 and 3 team, right, in the East, and Prairie View won their game against the number 2 team in the East last year. The only reason that the games were even, when you broke it down, right, and look game for game, East versus West, it was actually spot even. So the only reason the East was because FAMU was just better than everybody else, right? You know what I'm saying? But outside of that, it was all even. You talk about this year, you talk about Graham beating the Jackson State, right? You talk about, Southern just getting a win against Bethune. You talk about Prairie View just beating FAMU, right? Graham just beat Alabama State. So when you look at the East versus West, this thought process and mindset that the East is just overarchingly better than the West, I thought was never a good thought process. You know what I'm saying? I looked at it as no, the top team in the SWAC just the last couple of years has been an Eastern team, right? And so it makes it look lopsided when you get past that first team and go to the rest of the 11, it's really actually very, very even, right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? What's your thoughts on this? Because I know you've been in the SWAC for such a long time, and probably have seen it go from one school to another school, one division, another division. So what's your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I'm in favor of the divisions because it's going. You can have an argument either way, but it's going to swing back and forth just like the East and West in basketball. It's going to go back and forth because I can remember years that when Prairie View wasn't very good, they would always the West is down because Prairie View had Pine Bluff, who wasn't consistent, and Prairie View, but you had Southern and Grambling that were dominant, and Texas Southern was midway. Then on the East, it was Jackson was going to always be in the mix, and Alcorn. Then every now and then you get an Alabama State or Alabama A&M that would make a run. So it's going. If you just take a 10-year pullout from any decade, it's going to be pretty much even. East 1-5, West 1-5, or 6-4. It's probably never going to be a 9-1 or 8-2, but it's going to play out. But I can remember some complaints about having to a Mississippi Valley or Prairie View on your side, or not having to play Prairie View or Valley. So I'm for the divisions because it sort of keeps people playing, in my opinion, at the end of the day. But that's just Heish Northern opinion, as they say.
Kerry, what about you, man? Do you got any thoughts on going divisionless, or do you like the divisions?
Am I on? Yeah. I finally made it back. I like the divisions because it kind of like in the NFL, that divisional opponent will really make you know that if I lose this one, it's gonna be an issue. So I like the fact of having that, and plus it makes you really have a rival because the top two, yeah, that might be okay, but when it's the West against the East, you're trying to prove which division really can hold up. So it really makes a difference. So I know that they've done it where it was just straight up before, but I do like the way they do it now. I think it really makes the competition a little stiffer.
I got you. Yeah, and then I also want to ask this, and again, calling numbers here. I know Brandon, you asked about the calling number. If you're gonna call in, listen, this is your time because we about to get ready to close it out. So you know what I'm saying? Don't be texting me from the squad car. You feel me?
Right.
12. All right. You know what I'm saying? Go and call in. But Coach, I want to ask you and Kerry, man, what did y'all think? Because what I found, and Miss Tamika here, you know what I'm saying, one of the parents of our players here, put this comment here, said we were actually engaged also. Clap, chanting defense, even saying, I'm so glad. It was lit. Let's keep the momentum, starting with the band on the opposite side. One thing I've said, right, over the last couple of years is it seems like all of our best games from a fan engagement standpoint are always these later season games where we also don't have the biggest crowd, but yet we have a more engaged crowd, right? Valley last year we had probably about 4K there, and that crowd was very engaged, right? The band, engaged with the players on the opposite side. You talk about Alabama State even last year, right? Last game of the season, I think only like 6,000 that game, right? But yet chanting, right? The drum out there with the defense, you know what I'm saying, on the home side. So in this game, right, we saw the same thing, that even though the crowd was a smaller crowd, it was a more engaged crowd. Was that kind of the feel you got from this game? And then Mr. Kerry, I was going to ask you, how can the department take a snapshot of what goes on here to maybe fuel some of those other games that we have against the Southerns or the Texas Southerns, where there's a larger amount of people, 12, 13,000, but yet the engagement is not the same as some of these small. Like, why is the engagement different at these games versus the other? I just don't understand. Outside of the band, right? Outside of the band being on the opposite side, right? Because I feel the band's engagement with the other team, with the other players, right? It just changed the whole atmosphere. And I feel like even this game, right? That was an added element of home field advantage of them starting before the game, of them heckling the players, right? You know what I'm saying? And being able to play those songs. But it feels like, and I say this, and I want you guys' comments. It feels like the early season, I've said this, the Texas Southern, the Southern, the State Fair Classic, the band is only concerned about winning the band battle, right? Whereas later in the season, when the teams either don't bring a band or it's not a high prize band battle with the other team, it's like they're more engaged with the game itself, right? And so it's like they almost are saving themselves, early in the season versus later in the season. It's like, hey, we on this side, right? It's more about connecting with the students, connecting, and with the game itself. But if we can change that, man, I feel like we can have this type of atmosphere game in and game out. But what were you guys' thoughts?
I'm always on the side of I would want a little bit more fan engagement, especially from the student standpoint. So I'm broadcasting the game in the concourse area, not in the press box. So where we broadcast is usually right behind, is usually a student section over there where we are, and the players' parents sit in front of us. So you got some of them that's very in tune to the game, but sometimes they only get involved when their son make a play or their brother or something make a play, almost like a high school type atmosphere. Mm-hmm. But I would like more from the general Prairie View fan base to hear some more defense chants, to hear a quickly, when they make a first down, a quickly 5-second burst from the band, just different things like that. Because I know what it did for me as a football player. If I know I got the fans behind me, I would just like more. But it was better, especially that middle section. I want to say almost right in front of the I don't know what they call it, but it's where the quote unquote important fans are.
Yeah, section 107
gated area.
And 107.
Yeah. So I think they did a better job. I would like the band. I would have a problem if the band stayed on the other side, but I understand why they don't. The other thing I would think about doing, and it might sound crazy, but I've seen it done at other schools on the basketball side. I damn near, excuse my language, would close down the visiting side. If I'm not expecting that many people, I'm putting everybody on maybe the home team side, and I might tell ESPN film coming back to the home team side. I've seen it done in basketball. That's why I say that. And now you got everybody on one side, and you may get a little bit more from your fans instead of being spread out. But that might be, too much of a stretch. But like I say, I like fan engagement because I know what it's like to coach in games and not be able to hear on the headsets at other places. So that's what I like as a fan, as a coach, as a student athlete. I always felt like we had an advantage wherever we played at, because 9 times out of 10 Southern Band went everywhere we went, and 9 times out of 10 we were going to have some great fans behind us. And that was in the old days where you could bring you a fifth of Crown in the game and it was going to get lively up in there. So that's what I like when I go play. I just rambunctious. And my wife, when I go to my son's baseball game, I talk. When I go to my son's football game, I talk. So that's just me. I just love, if I'm a fan of sports, and I like it.
I'm with you. I like it.
Yeah, I like that too. And I'm a fan of the band being behind the visitor team. I really like that corner because their sound just kind of echoes right off of that corner, and it's louder than when they're over there in that open area on the other side. Mm-hmm. And because in fact, I was going to send an email to the AD that, please leave them over there. I like that.
Yeah.
And But it would be neat to have, like when we played Abilene Christian, it would be neat to have a student session directly behind the visiting team, because I know when we played away games, their student section, they'll be dressed up like Gumby, just all kind of distracted stuff. They have stuff to say, and I think I said this in your earlier show. When we played Michigan State, it was something simple that they did, but I think we could incorporate it too, because, they had these two signs, green, white. And when they raise the sign, that side of the stadium yell, then raise up. So we could have purple, gold, just getting them riled up. And then it just makes it more rambunctious, because whatever, I think the band worked better over there, because I could tell how loud that game was through the TV. You normally don't hear that. Right. We usually have no home field advantage, because you could tell that they rattled them a little bit. The audience did as well. And I think we should do something like that every game, because just imagine if we were that fired up for the Labor Day Classic. I heard rumors going back to the Dome. I'm not looking forward to that, because I like the home and home atmosphere.
Yeah, I like the home and home too. So it's so interesting, right? Because like Edwin is saying here, and you just mentioned, right, the sound, you like the sound better in that lower corner on the opposite side. So it's so weird that that's exactly where we put visiting teams' bands, right? And if that's the best place and the sound bounces best from there, what kind of sense does that even make, right? You know what I'm saying? I mean, you need to put them in a position where they got to blow even harder to even make their sound heard versus. So it just don't make sense, right? And I think it goes back to that, about thinking about the actual game day atmosphere, thinking about how you want to create a home field advantage. And coaches talked about it so many times before. Sometimes home field advantage is simply like, hey, listen, we're going to make you walk up the hill to your dressing room. Yeah, we could build a dressing room in another place, right, to make it more convenient for you. But why would we do that, right? You know what I'm saying? It's an advantage for us to make you have to go through that extra step. And so I think we have to also think about that, so that there's a home field advantage that's offered, you know what I'm saying, here as well. Because I think we have the ability to have that, right? You know what I'm saying? It's just thinking about it, right? Taking specific steps to be intentional. That's the word I keep thinking about, right? Is intentional. We gotta be intentional, right? You know what I'm saying? And listen, Tamika is saying it's just like, bruh, somebody come to your house. If you take shoes off at your house, you're not walking through my house with shoes on. Like it's just what it is, right? Like, oh, I don't take my shoes off. Well, you don't visit me then. Yeah. Like, or you got to stay outside, right? You know what I'm saying? What do you come for? I come outside and bring it to you, right? But you ain't gonna walk through my house with shoes on, right? You know what I'm saying? It's you respect the home and the place you go to. So the reality is, right? We go to SMU. SMU put you up in that corner. We go to Michigan State. Michigan State say, y'all get this slither right here, right? You know what I'm saying? And that's where y'all gonna sit. Horrible angle. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like the worst position, right? You talk about watching the game. That's where they're gonna put you, right? They don't care nothing about. First of all, you not their main consumer. All right, they fans is their main consumer, and winning the game is their main thing they trying to do, right? And I think we got to do that. And like what Tamika says, like, hey, listen, make visitors adapt to us. Obviously, you want the visitors to enjoy the game like your own people, but having especially something like a band which adds to the success of teams, especially in HBCU sports, to not have to be in a position to where they have to go through a little bit extra. Why would you not do that, right? So anyway, that's just my Isaiah say CC, the director of game day operations. You know what I'm saying? Hey, listen, tell them, whoever they are, listen, tell them, hey, listen, the show is always open. They can come on anytime. We can have those conversations. Listen, we got ideas out the wazoo, right? And we can talk and really figure out what could work, what can't work, what we got budget for, what we ain't got budget for. We can line up some alum to give they time and effort and energy to get it done. Listen, we can put it together. So Isaiah set it up and we'll have it ready, man. So he said you want bands across from each other and you don't want the visiting band on the home side. Listen, I want the visiting band anywhere where it's going to make our football team have a better chance of winning the game. I don't care if you put the visiting band on the top of the home side in the corner. That don't matter nothing to me. Personally, that matters nothing to me, right? Who cares at the end of the day, right? I'm caring about winning the game. You know what I'm saying? And because of how I think the shape of your stadium also is going to affect that, right? Because the reality is FAMU is on the visitor side. Their band is on the visitor side, right? That's where they are, right? The benefit of Southern is Southern has that elongated right stands, so you can put the visiting band all the way in the corner over there, right? You know what I'm saying? And so even though they're on that other side, but they're in the corner over there, right? They're not spot opposite of the other band, right? You know what I'm saying? So to me, at the end of the day, put them wherever you need to put them to make it advantageous for us. Matter of fact, separating them from their fans is the best thing that you can do anyway, right? You know what I'm saying? Put the band on this side, make all the fans sit over on the other side, disconnected from their football team and everything. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, with that being said, man, let's get to these last two games of the week real quick before we close out. First one, JSU versus Alabama State. Coach, what's your thoughts, man? Alabama State still has an outside shot. How can they get the job done at home against Jackson State?
I think one thing they're going to do after watching their game, they're going to have to either use some bunch formation on offense, or they're going to have to do a lot of motions and some rubs to make Jackson State have to communicate on defense. Like I say, Jackson State hard to beat if they play gangster. I'm telling you, but it can be done if they defense come to play like they have been playing decently. But they gonna have to find a way to manufacture some easy points by a trick play or something like that, or some shot. Take their best receiver against Jackson State best, or one of their DBs, and get a one-on-one matchup and get a double move or something like that. But they're going to have to do something a little bit different to put some points on the board. Other than that, you better hope Jackson turn the ball over a few times. If not, it's going to be a walk-away, easy win for Jackson State.
Yeah. And I agree. I think with Alabama State, they're going to have to they don't have the starting quarterback, so they're going to have to shorten the field and reduce the amount of time the quarterback holds the ball. And they got to do some plays that's going to make Jackson State have to think on defense. If they can tee off on you and, like Coach Northern said, run that 46 bear on you and just smother you, then you're in trouble. But you need somebody to leak out, on a flag router or drag and get behind them and make them have to think so that they don't just come at you, because they know Alabama State's going to want to run the ball to protect the quarterback. And so you're going to have to, put that on the line, but tell them you're not going to have much time. It got to be out your hand. 2 seconds, it got to be gone. And then on the defensive side, Alabama State's run defense is going to have to show up, because when Jackson State gets a score or two, they're going to try to, just run it down your throat. And you're going to have to really try to force them to go to the air as well in order to pull this game out. But it's going to be a long day for them if they can't, get them out of that, like Coach Northern said, the gangster defense. And can't get them out of that, it's going to be a long day.
Yeah, man. So who y'all got? Kerry, Jackson State, Alabama State.
Woo! I'm gonna have to go with Jackson State, because they really want to get to that championship, and unfortunately, Alabama State's in the way, and they're not at full strength on offense. And the defense is not what they were last year.
Yeah.
So I see that Jackson State is gonna probably pull this one out, even though it's on the road.
Yeah, and it's really gonna see if Jackson State can run the ball. Obviously, I think that's gonna be what we really gonna be watching for, to see how they're able to move the ball on ground against this Alabama State front seven. Coach, who do you got? Jackson, Alabama State.
Hey man, this is gonna sound crazy. Jackson gonna win. They gonna lose to Alcorn. They gonna lose to Southern in the championship game.
Woo! Boy, that's writing a big check right there.
Oh man!
Hey man!
Oh.
Hey, if it bounced so
that's writing big check.
I don't think Hey, to be honest, I don't think that's
far-fetched.
Because, but think about it like this: Jackson gonna have everything wrapped up, and Alcorn coming in there. They gonna come in there like this our championship right here.
Mm-hmm.
Jackson beat Southern handily already.
Yep.
So you don't know if they still thinking about the Alcorn game, and they thinking they already beat Southern bad. What kind of preparation you gonna get? That's the way I think sometimes, but that's we'll see.
They say you sound real crazy, Coach. Listen,
hey, it's all right.
Hey, listen, Coach.
Hey, I sound crazy when I thought Prairie View was gonna beat FAM too, though, right?
Yeah, he got a point.
And it happened just as I said. They came ready to fight.
Hey, listen, before y'all remove Coach Northern's name from the Alabama A&M short list because he just said this, all right? Before y'all take his name off the list, hey, remember what he said last week, all right, about PV versus FAMU. So, all right, we just got to wait to see. I don't think that's far-fetched, to be honest, right? No. Southern's about to have it wrapped up. Jackson and Alcorn is always that's always a battle, right? When you talk about that rivalry game. I mean, listen, when Shador and Travis Hunter was here, they almost lost that game, right? You know what I'm saying? So let's be clear. This is a rivalry game, right? So Alcorn could definitely, beat Jackson State, in that game at the end of the season. And listen, y'all keep acting like that dog don't keep running through traffic and not getting hit. I keep telling y'all. Right, that dog is running through traffic and not getting hit. Now, if it's any team, I don't want neither one of these teams to win a championship. Let's be clear, right? I know, right? I don't want any one of these teams to win a championship.
Can they both lose?
Can they both lose? Listen, if it's any Southern definitely can't win the championship. Okay, so I hope it don't happen, but could it? Listen, you can't tell me that can't happen. Southern getting the championship game and beat Jackson State. Y'all acting like Jackson State ain't beatable, right? They clearly are showing that they can be beat. Let's be clear. Let's not act like Jackson is just what they were before, right? You know what I'm saying? Like they can be beat. So, but let's go into this last game so we can close it out. Prairie View and Alcorn. This is going to be a big one for Alcorn to stay in the hunt. You know what I'm saying? What do you think about this game? What does PV got to do to win? What does Alcorn got to do to win? And who takes the victory?
I think Alcorn rotating them quarterbacks in steadily the last couple of games. So if Prairie View can stop them from getting big plays, the Alcorn screen game is pretty good. And I'm not going to say what the formation is, but they have one formation, in my opinion, that they were running earlier that's almost unstoppable when they running certain plays out of it. But I think if Prairie View can stop the big plays in the passing game, minimize the run game, I think Prairie View almost wins the same way that they did against FAM, because the thing you got to hope, if you Coach McDowell, everybody not patting them on the back talking about last week, but it's gonna be a big one for them.
Yeah, I think this. They're coming to keep their chances alive, and we're playing to ruin their chances. So, and I'm hoping we have good crowd engagement again. This game, and that people are really into it. This could be if the defensive ends can stay disciplined like they did in this last game, and keep the Alcorn quarterback from getting that outside run that he likes to do when everything breaks down. If they can keep that from happening, then I like their chances. I think we can slow down the pass game, but the concern is what happens when the plays break down. That quarterback really can make things happen. Our thing is Johnson got to take care of the ball on PV offensive side like he's been doing, not play outside himself, play what he could do, and establish that run game. I haven't seen where Alcorn's run defense is as tough as it had been in previous years. So we got to trust ourselves and lean on that run game like we did this last game.
Yeah, I think if we can continue to run the ball, I think both of these teams really want to get the ball, move the ball on the ground, right? You know what I'm saying? So whichever team kind of is able to control the line of scrimmage, right, offensive, defensive, I think that's really going to really determine this game. Again, if PV can, again, like they've done the last couple games, get up early, hit on one of these big plays. We keep talking about it, man. James Burns is going to beat somebody, right? If we can hit on one of those big plays, right, to get a short, get the ball downfield, either score a touchdown, right, or get up early, a field goal, I think that would be key because, and also the adjustments. I think Alcorn showed in a couple games early in the season that they make adjustments coming out of the second half and kind of change the momentum of games, from an offensive standpoint. And so which team makes better adjustments coming out the second half, I think that's going to be huge. So, yeah, man, this one's going to be interesting. I think this is going to be one of those. Listen, Alcorn and PV has been very, very great game to watch the last couple of years. Always a close game. So I think it's going to be another close one. But I think PV can definitely get the job done. The thing that concerns me with my guy, Xavier Vaughn, that guy can move on the ground. And that is the one thing that always has scared me when you talk about these running quarterbacks against PV's defensive line. So if we can kind of keep him, under 80, 70 yards, we're okay. If that guy's in that 120, 130 range with a touchdown or two, I think that's going to be trouble. Go ahead, Coach.
I think, another key to the game going to be if they call and holding against Alcorn's offensive line. I think I watched the Southern game, and the right tackle probably had 3 holding penalties, and it should have been way more than that. And the right guard, I want to say 58, he a big old joker, probably had 3 as well. So if Prairie View's defensive line hit him with some stunts and some movement, it's going to be holding penalties a lot, especially on that right side. And they play side by side, but it's going to be some penalties galore if Prairie View's defense line play like they did last week.
Yeah, that's going to be big, man. If that defensive line shows up like they did last week, it's going to be another great game. So with that said, man, we appreciate all of you guys for joining us on Sunday's The Recap Show with Coach Heish Northern. Again, for all of you who are here and you aren't subscribed to the channel, man, make sure you show some love, right? Subscribe to the channel. Edwin knows exactly who it are. 71 and 77, he said. Those numbers. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, man, make sure y'all go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Show some love. Listen, y'all see the small bonnet. You feel me? You know what I'm saying? Y'all see the bonnet, you know what I mean? Yeah. I know what that means. It's daddy duty time. So but yeah, 750, 700, then 750 subscribers, man. So y'all make sure y'all show some love in the comments and make sure you show some love by subscribing to the channel. Again, appreciate you, Mr. Carey. Appreciate you, Coach Heish. Hopefully, as we get to November, December, we'll see Kansas City take some losses so that Mr. Carey is not coming on here so happy all the time because these Chiefs.
Hey, Kansas City got one of them wild dogs running around them streets too now.
Yeah, Mahomes ain't had the best game, but we got the wild dog almost got hit today. They blocked that kick.
Hey, Kirk, my man Kirk said that dog definitely gonna get hit in the championship game. Listen. We gonna see, all right, because we got next week. We gonna see, all right, if that dog UAPB is coming, and or are they going to UAPB, right? So we gonna see if that dog gets hit or not. So with that being said, we gonna roll on. You good? And I'm gonna take care of the little one. So with that being said, man, we're gonna holler at y'all. Appreciate y'all for joining the channel and for checking out the recap show. Until next week, we'll holler at y'all.
Peace.